Hi guys, how you doing? Okay, hi guys. Good evening. It is 11 o'clock. I'm not doing that bad. I'm doing really good. Okay, hi guys. It's LaQueen Battle. I'm here from Battle First Aid Responder Services here in Boston, Massachusetts, in my office, my home base office, my headquarters. So pretty much, I was just doing my first two videos on ethics as well as my code, my scope of practice. Now I'm going to do my next video is called on supervised training. Now, to become a medical doctor or whatever field of medicine or whatever career field that you want to be in, you really have to get the education first, the education, the reading, the educational resources, the material, all that stuff, the books, the education. And then once you prove that you are, um, the prove that you are acknowledged and tested in this field. Right here is a book that's called Preventive Medicine. Once you are proven, whatever, God, whatever, so, like you take the classes, you go to school, you take the classes, you pass the test, whatever, or you could take it on side and pass the classes online. Once you have taken the education, received the educational resources, then you are what is allowed to do what is called supervised training or a residency or an internship or outside field training. So supervised training usually involves somebody licensed in the field that you want to be in. Once you have done the education and the training, then you have somebody that's trying to oversee what you're trying to do that has been licensed in that field. Okay, so there's a lot more to do it per se. You have a little bit more involvement and you have a little bit more time on hands on deck in order to work with somebody because you already have the education and the materials to back it up, as well as the written education, the written work from other people in the field, as well as a person in front of you face to face or over the internet or over the web who is certified in the field that you are trying to pursue, which is basically you could do an internship, you could do field training, you could do a residency, you could do volunteering and still receive the credentials that you need in order to get that license, okay, in the medical field, law, teaching, whatever you need. But you need someone that has been credentialed and certified in that license that you are trying to pursue or has related as closely as possible to that license in order to continue to for you to continue the education credentials that you need in order to get that job. Okay, see how it works. So you can be an accountant and try to be a teacher and think all of a sudden, oh my God, I got all the training that I need to become a teacher because I'm an accountant because I already got a supervising experience. It doesn't work that way. You still need to figure out you can still cross connect a job like that, but you still have to, take like a week a volunteering externship opportunity in that school of your choice or on the job training. You still need on the job training before you are able to perform that job as a professional. You get what I'm saying? That's what the law was talking about. You cannot be certified, licensed in that field. You cannot practice medicine. Cannot practice unlicensed medicine under a title unless you are under the supervision of a person. Okay, which I get this a lot. Or you are in a registered medical training course that is under the other direction and care of a licensed person. That is the field that you're trying to pursue. But you have to let that person know in the coursework of what you're doing in order to keep continually to practice the work that you're doing. So there's a lot more overhead, but you still need the permission from one person or from different people to continue to do what you want to do. Now, if one person says you can't do it, okay, you that's what one person said. But if you seek out other opinions from other people and they get okay from it, or you get an email that it's okay to do it, and you have different opinions as well as they have the authority to back it up, what they're talking about. One person says no, but three people says yes. What does that mean? That means you can continue to do it as long as you go through the proper channels under the supervision of a licensed professional in that field. So you still can work in that field under that license, but you have to be under somebody's supervision on a day-to-day basis. That's how it works, especially if you are doing anything clinically related, or if you are working on one-on-one with patients, or I mean, on the field is different from professionally because you have to bill people for their services professionally. But if you are on the field, literally, if you are in a disaster zone, American Red Cross, if you're in a protest, or if there was a flood, if there was an earthquake, if there was the lights were out in your city, and people needed somebody to help with a heart attack. Who's going to be able to help with a heart attack? Somebody that's specialized to do it, of course. So you're a RN, but you can't help with nobody because you're not MD. That's not how it works. If you have the skill sets and able to be able to handle a situation, and it is a medical emergency under the Good Samaritan law as well as under governing authorities, you are able to practice that, you're able to perform that medical procedure as an emergency situation. But you still have to get approval from somebody in regards to that, approval from a police officer, approval from a fire, EMS people, personnel, to let people know, hey, I'm a registered nurse, I can still do this. I'm a CPR, I can still do this. Can I get your permission? And which is what the American Red Cross says, as well as the American Heart Association says, primarily first in all their training, get the consent from the patient or anybody around the patient. If the patient's unconscious, get the consent first. Okay, so you have to get consent first. Okay, now, if it is an emergency disaster situation, you do not need consent because you have to cater to the needs of that emergency, that disaster situation. Now, if the fire department was to come around and it was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You say, hey, they see, and other people are also involved in it. You'd be like, okay, yeah, oh, okay, you're good. Because it is still under the Good Samaritan law, okay? As well as under the licensing boards of your credentials. If an emergency situation does arise, you are able to perform the services necessary in order to help best relieve symptoms of a life or death situation with a person or a patient. Okay, you have to relieve any kind of situation, life or death case for that person. That's how it works. I can be so much analytical about it as I possibly can, but when worst comes to worst, you have to do it as best as possible to help somebody get well, okay, recover, live. Okay, so that's pretty much what it is. Now, under the supervision, under what is called a specialty, you still need services from a supervised licensed person in that field. So, say for instance, somebody is a specialty, they have a particular area of study or a skill set to which someone has devoted much of their time and effort, and which they are an expert. Okay, so a person is a specialist if they have devoted the time and the energy, as well as they also have published spoken work or published written work in their skill sets in order to be well qualified to have experience in that profession. Okay. Now, I may not be a specialist in COVID-19, but I have been recognized in order to provide services from different agencies and different community bodies that I'm able to perform COVID prevention services as needed, especially with infection control, hand washing techniques, getting to the crowd, checking temperatures, as well as I've been doing all summer long. Okay. So I'm specialized in COVID-19 that way as a preventive measure. Now, when it comes to first aid and basic first aid, adult and pediatric care, yes, that is emergency medicine. Okay, first aid is another example of emergency medicine, which you're doing preventive services in order to help with someone's illness, which is called first aid. Okay, that's where it comes to do to deal with first aid services. Okay. Okay. Now I have a I have a certification by the American Red Cross for adult and pediatric services to perform first aid on the field, in the hospital, on the clinic. On the first aid certification, I had a number. I listed that registration number on through the board registration, okay? And it was approved to practice first aid services because first aid services can also qualify, okay? Can also qualify as emergency services, okay? Now, if you are doing emergency first aid services on a full time basis and you are in a facility or you are in a community where people know that you are available to handle first aid services, especially for a large group of individuals or a large group of events, and the community knows you are involved and able to perform services, medical emergency services, and you have the materials and the supplies to perform these services, and you have the training in order to perform the services, and you have been recognized, approved, and have the evidence to perform the services, then yes, you are able to perform the services under the direction of the community and also under the direction of a supervised licensed medical professional. Okay, so if you have the community involvement as well as a license as well as spoken approval from governing licensed bodies like the fire department. The fire department knows who you are. The fire department performs emergency medicine as well. And you are pretty much a basic first responder, a first aid person in your community, your first responder. Okay. If the fire department knows, you give them your business card. Okay. They know who you are and they're also able to look you up. Therefore, you can also get supervision from them, but you still need to ask. Or you have your local police department. You check in with them, every day. You let them know, hey, this is LaQueen. I'm first aid. I'm in the city. I'm in the neighborhood. I'm first aid. I'm available to provide services. They're like, okay. And also, if you see them on the street every day and you have rare identification to let people know, especially within the vicinity that you are abiding in, that you are able to perform medical services, then yes, you are able to perform the medical services because you have the supervision of the community and the supervision of the licensing body's authority to perform the medical services needed and rendered, especially in an emergency situation. So, if the community body knows your services are available and you have the evidence to back it up, as well as the licensing governing body knows your services and you have been approved through the business to practice business of medical services in your city and the state and the local governing bodies, they know you are able to practice that in your business. And you have been approved to practice the business and also been approved through your own individual certifications, then yes, you are approved to practice that medicine necessary. Now, when I applied through the CMS and this board, the National Plan and Provider Enumeration System, they called me and they pretty much asked me like a couple questions because they really need to know what I was doing. Yes, I have an office. Yes, I provide services. Yes, I provide emergency medical services as well as basic first aid and preventive services. Yes, I'm a certified medical assistant. Yes, I am certified adult and pediatric first aid. I'm more than a medical assistant. I'm actually emergency medicine before I am a first responder before the EMS and fire people arrive. And sometimes people in the community look up to people they see first every day on the street. They trust people every day on the street more than they trust local enforcement. Okay. So it's best to have a friendly face on the street than it is to have a police officer or somebody that they do not know. Okay. All right. So thank you. Thank you, Scuff. Thank you. It's services. Thank you. And usually all the time people ask me, are you working? I'm like, am I working? What do you mean am I working? Yes, they want to know if I'm working in my field. Am I working right now? Because they need some help, or if I'm just need a date. So people usually want to know what I'm doing. And if they can be of help to me all the time in my neighborhood, every single day. People want to know, are you working and do you need some help? And usually, if people see what I'm doing, which every day it involves the public safety. Everything I do involves public safety. Pretty much, people already know what I'm doing. They see what I'm doing. They do it. They provide the help. And then they're enough because it is an issue not only of medical. Thank you. It's not an issue of only medical services, but it's an issue of public safety. So sometimes terrorism can be involved in it, domestic terrorism can be involved in it, protest, criminal activity can be involved in it, assault can be involved in it. But I'm here to provide emergency medical services that are pretty much basically needed. I'm here. I show first, or I'm one of the people to show up first as a first responder. Police arrive. They address the situation. I let them know I'm available. What you need. I assist as needed, and then check on the patient. Make sure the patient is okay. They're okay for me to leave. Most of the time, it is not ethical, I've been told, to leave a scene, leave a patient in the hands of emergency personnel because the patient needs somebody from the community to be present with them at the hospital when they're disposed in the hospital. Which, when a patient is cleared to go to the emergency ambulance, I'm supposed to be escort them into the ambulance as well because that's my job in first aid. But um, it just really depends on what the patient wants. I just ask the patient, do you want me to go with you to the hospital? Most of the time, the patient says, could you go with me to the hospital? Or I'm good, I'm fine, I'm going to be okay. I don't need to go to the hospital. Or could you please, I don't want you to go with me. I'm good by myself. Now, when some members in the community see me leave the scene of the incident and the patient goes in the EMS vehicle, they find it offensive. But if the patient consents to not needing any kind of help, I still have to abide by the needs of the patient. The patient says, I don't need anybody with me to the hospital. I'm okay by myself, which is also in the code of ethics within my profession. As a first responder, as well as a certified medical assistant, as well as adult and pediatric first aid, as well as overdose narcon assistance, as well as adult and pediatric mental health services, as well as a community health advocate, as well as an AIDS, STV, HIV preventive specialist, as well as a peer support specialist. I thank you. You need mouth to mouth. Yes, I do chase ambulances. Yeah. Yeah, I have been known to chase ambulances. Yes, I have been known to chase ambulances. Yes, I have been known to chase ambulances. And there was a dead body in the Commons a couple weeks ago, and a gentleman told me, I asked, "Hey man, what's going on? What's going on in Commons?" He's like, "Oh no, I just saw a dead body." I'm like, "Really?" And as soon as two of the EMS vehicles saw me coming in the Commons, they went straight out of the Commons, Boston Commons Park. Oh, hey, it's LaQueen. It's the first aid girl. Oh, let's get out of here. The Boston Commons. So pretty much, they're like, "Hey guys, y'all need some help?" I'm like, "No, no, no." So yes, I am licensed to provide emergency first aid services, which is also the same at can be under the same scope of practice as emergency medicine. Because I'm under the same scope of practice because I practice it under a full time basis. Okay, I practice it on a full time basis under an 8 to 5, and also it's within the mission of my nonprofit to help provide emergency medical services to those in need. Okay, so since I practice emergency first aid services on a full time basis, as well as local governing bodies know of my availability of services, as well as I have the authorization approval from the local governing bodies, as well as I am, in addition, I am pursuing the proper channels of supervision through the closest hospital facility, and also I'm trying to pursue the proper supervision channels under a licensed medical professional or a licensed um, doctor of osteopathy, licensed medical doctor, a licensed registered nurse. As long as I am pursuing those channels, the public knows, the local governing bodies are aware, and I am within that scope of practice on a full time basis. And in addition to that, in addition to practicing the field of medicine on a full time basis, the local governing bodies know that I'm available for services. And in addition to that, I am taking online education courses in addition to that scope of practice in preventive medicine. I am taking classes online right now in preventive medicine through authorized accredited institutions. Yes, I am authorized to practice that field of medicine. Okay, that's how that works. You have to go through the different channels. My registration is under the American Red Cross, the credentials. Okay, so it's not funny, but it's real because you have to do what you have to do in order to let people know that your services are available and rendered. Okay, so I am not a doctor. Okay, I may or may not be a doctor, but it just really depends on the scope of practice. It also depends on how much your skill set, if you are an expert in your field. Thank you. If you are an expert in your field, or if you are a novice that is experienced in your field, it really just still depends. Okay. It really just depends on what your field is. It really just depends. Now, here it says, okay, it says a doctor in the Wikipedia, which is just general Wikipedia. Thank you, Scuff DMX. It says under just basic general Wikipedia, don't use Wikipedia for evidence. Do not use Wikipedia for evidence, but this is just general. It says under Wikipedia, doctor is an academic title that originates from the Latin word of the same spelling and meaning. The word is originally an adjective, noun of the Latin verb docere, to teach. Okay, so I'm able to teach and administer what I'm talking about. It has been used as an academic title in Europe since the 13th century, when the first doctorates were awarded in Paris. Okay, so contracted doctor or DR period, it is used as a designation for a person who has obtained a doctorate, a PhD. But in many parts of the world, it is also used by medical practitioners, regardless of whether or not they hold a doctorate level degree. No. Okay, so the earliest doctoral degrees, thank you. Yes, I do. It's Battle First Aid Responder Services, DMX. The earliest doctoral degrees, theology, law, and medicine, reflected the historical separation of all university study into these three fields. Theology, law, and medicine. Over time, the DD has gradually become less common, and studies outside theology, law, and medicine have become more common, such as studies that were then called philosophy, but are now classified as sciences and humanities. However, this usage survives in a degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Okay. The PhD was granted by universities, which is also called a doctor if you have a PhD. However, the title, not being protected by law, was adopted by quacks. As a result, by the mid 19th century, it was normal in the UK to omit the title doctor when addressing letters to those holding doctoral degrees, and instead write the abbreviated form of the degree after the name, e.g., the Reverend Robert Phelps, D.D. Thomas Elson, Esquire, MD, or John Lindsay, Esquire, PhD, in order to avoid classing academic doctors with the village apothecary and the friar and various quacks in literature, science, or art. In the US, it has similarly become customary to use post-nominals rather than the title of doctor when addressing letters. All those with doctoral degrees continue to use the title professionally and socially. Okay, continues here. It is common in English speaking companies refer to physicians by the title of doctor, even when they do not hold a doctoral level qualification. The Medical Act of 1858 made it illegal for anyone not qualified in medicine to use a title that implied they were. This led to prosecutions of people making unauthorized use of the title doctor. However, it also called into question the use of the title by licenciates of the College of Physicians, all of whom were under the new act, allowed to practice throughout the UK. And the title of doctor shall not be given in any official document issued from the college to any person who is not possessed of the degree of Doctor of Medicine. This was followed in 1860 by new bylaws that stated no fellow member or licentiate of the college shall assume the title of Doctor or Medicine or use any other name, title, designation, or distinction, implying that he is a graduate in medicine or of a university unless he be a graduate in medicine of a university. Okay. Debate has continued to use the doctor as a courtesy title by those who do not use it, but rights as holders of the doctoral degrees. Blah, blah, blah. It just keeps going. I've studied this. No, this is real. It's only, don't even start. Yes, people use MD all the time. Okay, so it's a lot more controversy. There's a lot more conscious. Now, other uses of doctor. In some regions, as the southern United States, doctor is traditionally added to the first name of people holding doctorates, where it is used in either direct or indirect familiar addresses. Doc is a common nickname for someone with a doctoral degree in real life and in fiction. For example, the gunfighter Doc Holliday, Australian Doc Savage, something like that. In Roman Catholicism and several other Christian denominations, a doctor of the church is an eminent theologian, for example, St. Thomas Aquinas, also known as the angelic doctor, from whom teachings the whole church is held to have derived great advantage. African leaders often refer to themselves as doctor as part of their title upon assuming office. Thank you. Stand under stress. You better not. Okay, so you see how that works. You see, it's really uh it's really a lot too. You need permission, you definitely need, as well as you need the education to go through it. Let me see what else I can get on here. Now, I mean, there's a lot more. There's a lot more people involved in it. You get a doctor of medicine. You get a doctor with field of study in it. Pretty much, but it's not say, oh, I'm gonna start billing, I'm gonna be having make money. No, 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 that's not what it's about. It's actually about being an expertise in your field and going through the proper channels and a proper education. And then once you get the proper education, going through the supervising training experience, when you get the supervising training experience, then going through the board, the state boards in order to be qualified. Okay, so right here, rather than just Googling what doctor is, I'm going to go right here to state, Massachusetts state boards. You want me to stand up? Are you gonna help me? Give me some cash out money. Okay, so emergency limited licenses. Oh my God, for medical school graduates, I go through this all the time. Fake boredom is investigation, extortion scam. Emergency changes regarding physician licensing application. Here's March 24th. It was brought to the Massachusetts Board of Medicine's attention that Massachusetts licensees have been receiving scam calls from individuals posing as investigators of the Massachusetts Board of Investigation, DEA. The call will falsely state their license is under investigation, the medical license is in jeopardy, blah, blah, blah. The call may ask for blah, 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 blah. Please note the scam calls may show up as a Board of Medicine's main number. Physicians from other states receive similar scam calls from the individuals purporting to be the FBI, blah, blah, blah. So it's scams all over. It's scams. But in order to get qualified under the Board of Medicine, like here, you have to be a graduate of medical school, or you have to go through a physician licensing application. You have to go through your board. Let me look through the Board of Licenses information right here. Working. Professional licensing permits. For certain professions, you need a license to practice in Massachusetts. Okay. Healthcare licensing is right here. Many healthcare providers need a license to practice. Okay. Let me see right here. Professional license. Okay. Okay, it's a 30-minute video in the bed. The Division of Professional License sort through its board and offices licenses. Let me speak softly. The Division of Professional Licensure through its boards and offices licensees and regulates more than 580,000 individual businesses and schools to engage in over 150 trades. Okay. The Division of Professional Licensure and the agency with the Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation is responsible for the oversight of over 28 boards of registration. Mhm. Okay, check the license. Let me check this real quick. Mhm. Check in. Check a professional license. Commonwealth, hold on a second. Massage therapy, home inspections, dispensing, opticians, cosmetology, architects, veterinary medicine, optometry, real estate, television technicians, accountancy, sheet metal workers, health officers, health and human services, mental, allied professions. There we go. It really just depends. OT physician. I'm just trying to get as clear as possible as I can. Your search returned nothing. Okay. Look, so I still have to go through the Mass Department of Massachusetts. So with the Massachusetts Department, so I still have to go through the department. I still have to go through the Massachusetts Department of Health, which is also another thing. I still have to be registered through the Department of Health, which I'm still trying to get to. Okay, let me see. This is what I was also trying to do. Oh, it's another license. Okay, so in order to start billing services for, especially if I'm involved, services and my services are actually noticed by other people in the community, then yes, I need to let people know what I'm doing and that I'm qualified in that certified in that within the scope of those services, and therefore I can bill for those services because have been approved by the authorizing body, government body, in order to provide their services as well as to be billed for those services. Okay, you guys are understanding. So I'm not necessarily a doctor per se. I'm just a person that has been skilled. Okay, I'm a person that has been skilled in my profession. You get me? I have been skilled in my profession. Okay. So I still need to go to the Department of Health. That's not an issue at all. I know I need to do that. That's not an issue. I still have to go through the state boards of Massachusetts, the Massachusetts Department of Health, to let them know that my services are available and that I'm skilled to work within the scope of practice under adult and pediatric first aid. And I also will be taking additional classes in first aid, wilderness first aid, advanced pediatric first aid, lifeguarding classes, dog and cat first aid. There's so many. There you go. Thank you. There's so many different aspects of first aid. It is ridiculous. And then you can work in a veterinary clinic. You can work in a medical clinic with people. You work in a hospital. You can do anything with first aid. And pretty much it's just a basic emergency management. You can become a firefighter and get a first aid certification. It's different between a CPR and a first aid. So you can do so much more with it. As well as I am continuing classes. I'm doing continuing classes in education and first aid assistance. Okay. All right. So that is a little bit of the supervision that I'm doing right now and what supervision pretty much means to me. And also what I'm qualified for under within my own scope of practice of what I am able to do and what I am qualified to do under the supervision of my own community, as well as under the supervision of a certified medical professional, as well as in local governing bodies. Okay, local government governing bodies know my services are available, as well as the community know my services are available. So therefore, I'm able to render emergency services as a first responder, emergency medical services as a first responder, and also within the scope of my field of medical assisted emergency management, overdose treatment, community health, narcotic opioid overdose, adolescent and adult mental health training, as well as additional certifications and the national authorized bodies that have been approve me to take. And these are more just certifications, 2-hour certifications. No, these are actually a couple of days, 3-day courses, and I can be certified in this course, in this training. I'm actually taking these 3 week-long courses, these 3 courses that have been and approved and authorized by county departments. They have classes. They're certified classes through the county. They're certified classes through the government. They're certified classes through a national organization. Have these certified classes in order to become specialized in your field of expertise. So that's pretty much what I mean under supervision. So it's little bit more than that. But as long as you got the approval of the community, people know your services are available and rendered as necessary, as well as approval of the governing authorities, police, EMS, as well as the approval of the mayor. Your local city has the application of business as listed within the city limits, and also the local, state, and other governing bodies know your services are available and rendered. Yes, you can practice within that scope of practice, but under your credential body, if they say you have to be under somebody's supervision, you still have to be under somebody's supervision, even if it's a local hospital or even if it's a doctor checking in, calling in a doctor every single day. Say, hey, I'm going to be practicing this here and there. As long as you get the permission, you should be good to go. Okay. All right. So this is LaQueen Battle from Battle First Aid Responder Services. It's 12 o'clock here. I'm on part 3 of my series, Dr. LaQueen Battle Supervision. I still have a lot more. I have about 1 more to go. And I'm going to head cut it and then get ready for my trip. All right. So I'm going to head cut it to the next video, the last video. Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Bye.